Have you ever felt like you've got closure, but something still didn't sit right? We're taught to believe that closure means everything is resolved, that once we have an answer, we should feel at peace. But that's not always how it works. In the law, closure doesn't come from words. Let's talk about corpus delicti, which is a Latin term. It essentially means that a confession alone cannot be the basis to prove that potentially a murder occurred, right? There has to be more than the confession. So for instance, DNA evidence. I actually did a video on Ted Bundy here yesterday regarding the victim of his that had been dumped along the side of the road, I believe in Utah. And she had gone to a Halloween party alone 51 years ago and was unfortunate enough to run into Ted Bundy. And so Ted Bundy had actually confessed to murdering her right before his execution, is my understanding, around like 1989. And so that gave the parents a little bit of peace, so to speak. But the case could not fully be closed because there was no corpus delicti, which is required, right? With so many people giving false confessions, people saying what they think that people want to hear, certain things like that. That's why corpus delicti is extremely important. You don't just accept a confession. You need evidence that the crime actually occurred and that it's connected to that person. Let's talk about emotional reality. But emotionally, closure can come from something much smaller, a statement, an acknowledgement, even just being seen. Let's talk about the conflict. And that's where things get complicated, because something can feel true without being fully proven. And so maybe there's a part in the dark recesses of your mind that thinks about that. Like, is this actually what happened? Is this actually what occurred? And ultimately, they talk about closure and how once you know things, like, closure becomes so much easier. But oftentimes people want to know the why. And I had a really wise friend say to me one time when I asked her why about a certain situation that had happened to me. And she said, sometimes there is no reason why. Sometimes people are just crappy people. I don't know. But we often want to know a why. And oftentimes the why is extremely unsatisfying. It doesn't make any sense. It leaves us almost a little bit more broken than before. Because we think that if there's a good enough explanation, maybe it wouldn't hurt so much. But that's not the truth. We all know that. Especially with someone that you loved, like your child or your mother, like Savannah Guthrie's dealing with currently. Those are painful and those are difficult. And knowing the why, that's really not going to necessarily provide closure. Let's talk about the real life application. This doesn't just happen in criminal cases. It happens in relationships. You get an explanation, but it doesn't feel right. Someone apologizes, but you feel that something is missing. You're told a version of the story, but you don't fully believe it. Let's talk about the shift. So what do you do when closure and truth don't line up? You stop forcing resolution, you allow ambiguity, and you trust your internal signal. So in closing, closure is something we feel. Truth is something that has to be proven, and sometimes they don't arrive at the same time. If this resonates, you're not alone navigating in this space. And I hope that you will check out further Recovering Perfectionist Mama Grace in Progress videos. From the bottom of my heart, I appreciate each and every one of you viewing this and taking the time to watch this. And I hope that you will look into our community. We have a vibrant, compassionate, empathetic community that would welcome you with open arms, and everyone is welcome. So hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.